Hello everybody and welcome to Lauren Loves Color. This is Lauren. I am here to share a couple of new books with you today, new color by number books. One is from Sachin Sachdeva, the other is from Shershneva. Both of these are brand new to their collection and some of their newest releases. So I am here to do a flip and review. I have had an opportunity to color in each of these books and I'm going to share that with you. So let's go ahead and get started. We will start with the first book by Sachin Sachdeva. This is another book in his Mosaic art series. These are 3 by 3 millimeter squares, so the smaller squares that you're used to in a lot of the Belva family books. This is the next edition in his line of books that are 3 by 3. On the back of the book here, you can see that there is the color palette listed here on the left-hand side. This is his standard 21 color palette that he's been using in all of his books, at least throughout this year. So that's nice. He keeps all of the colors the same here. He has a couple of sample images that are adorable. This pineapple image is so cute. I love that image. I thought that was adorable. And then the other Mosaic art books are listed here. There's two here, the Sea Creatures and Inside Home, that use 5 by 5 millimeter squares, so they're much larger. Vintage Cards, I think, was his first 3 by 3, and then he also has one that he came out with this year that's Patterns, which is also 3 by 3. So this is the third book in the 3 by 3 series. This book is going to be a little bit hard to flip through just because you can't really see what the images are. However, I have learned that kind of the further away that you are and on camera, sometimes you can tell. He has his color by number books listed here, some of his other Mosaic art books. Always has a really cute "This Book Belongs To" page. This is just kind of talking a little bit about the book and what to expect. There's 25, I think a standard 25 images in most of his books, so I imagine that this is somewhat the same. So like when I look at this and I'm sitting at this right now, I cannot see much of anything. But you probably can see a little bit more. Like if I look through the viewfinder, it looks like maybe there's a car that's right here that I can somewhat see. But yeah, when you're looking at this in person, you can't tell that easily what you're looking at. So it's kind of cool sometimes when I see this on the camera, like how much you actually can see. These are pretty small squares. I'm going to zoom you in. They're 3 by 3, so they're pretty tiny. So you can see kind of what they look like. What I like about this in comparison to like some of the Belva family books, for example, is that he has pretty dark line work around each of the squares, which lends itself, I think, to be able to use a little bit different type of media than maybe what you can use in Belva family. Because it's dark, I decided this time, and you'll see on the page that I completed, to fill in each of the squares completely. And I decided to do that using my Teotree markers, which are kind of this, I have one here that you can see is more of kind of a thin alcohol marker that has a really nice fine tip to it. And you can use these, you can use ultra fine Sharpies or Bics, you can use water-based markers, felt tip pens, you know, anything like that. And you can either, there's usually 3 popular methods. You either fill in the squares completely, you either put an X to do kind of a cross stitch method, so just put an X in each square and it looks like cross stitch when you're done, or you can put a circle. I have found that I don't like the circle method on these books. For an image this large, for whatever reason, it just doesn't look right. And I've tried it on a couple books now and I didn't really like the way that it looked. I did like it on his Patterns book. Like in a pattern it worked okay, but on some of these that weren't pattern images, it just looked real funky. So I decided for this one that I was going to change kind of my method. Now, for these, he has all of the colors listed on the left-hand side. For images that he changes to kind of the horizontal image, he changes the color palette accordingly, which is nice. He does include all of his colors on each page, so it's not just the colors you're going to use in the image. But as I've mentioned many times in my videos before, Sachin Sachdeva utilizes his color palette very well. So most of his colors are always in each of the images that he has. So there's maybe 1 or 2 colors that aren't included, but for the most part, you're going to utilize the wide variety of his palette in each of his images. So I don't know if maybe there's certain things that you're seeing in some of the images as I flip through the book, but let's go ahead and move to my colored page. I ended up coloring a kind of a more horizontal image. And I don't know why I cannot think of the name. It's not portrait, it's landscape, a landscape image. My goodness, Lauren. So this is the image that I colored here. This was really fun. This, I used my Teotree marker, so I filled in each of the squares. Let me zoom you in a little bit so you can see a little bit better. This seems to be kind of like a montage of different things that you would associate with travel. So like this looks like a suitcase or backpack, a plane, some glasses. This looks like maybe like a map and a magnifying glass. And I'm not sure about all of these things. Obviously, this is a camera. I was at first thinking those could either be cups of coffee or keys. I think they might be keys though. And maybe like an iPad and an iPhone, you know, or phone and tablet of some reason. I'm not quite sure what this is. But, you know, regardless, I think you get the point kind of looking at it, and it's just a really fun image and fun and unique. So I think there's going to be a lot of really fun images in here. And I'll say I filled in each of the squares, and these do take some time. I think the two books I'm showing you right now are definitely not for the hurried colorist. They are definitely going to be for a colorist that maybe has a little bit of extra time on their hands and want to kind of just take their time to unwind and relax. So yeah, so that is what this book looks like. This is Mosaic Art Vacations by Sachin Sachdeva. So you can find a copy of this book on Amazon. Both of these you can find on Amazon. I will link the information as always down below in the description box. And also, both of these books too, and I usually say that at the beginning, is that both of these books were sent to me by the publisher. So thank you to Sachin and to Kira for sending these books to me. This is Kira's next in her Color by Color series, but I think she's coming out with like 2 more very soon. I saw her sneak peek one for summer, and then she has another one that I think is going to be masterpieces. So it's going to be like famous artwork. So she's really continuing in this Color by Color series. It has been a very, very, very popular series that she has produced, and one of my favorite series of coloring books, honestly, of all time. So I have really enjoyed this. So this is not really color by number, it's color by color. You can see some of the images on the back here. So she has an image shown here where what you will see in the inside of the book are these different shapes that look like Tetris shapes outlined in a color. All you do is take the corresponding marker color and color that image in, and then you will end up with something like this for a completed image. She utilizes a 22 color palette. This is standard across all of her books. It also aligns with Sun Life Drawing. If you have any Sun Life Drawing books and have your markers matched, you can use this as well. This is one, I'm going to point this out, where the number 1 is not dark gray, it is black. So some books, and Sun Life Drawing does this as well. Sometimes their number 1 is a dark gray, sometimes their number 1 is a black. So their palette does change sometimes book to book, but just make sure you pay attention to that. This is printed on a premium Amazon paper. I think there's usually a standard 20 images in her books. And this book does come at a little bit of a higher price tag just because of the quality of the paper that is included. This paper is great for markers, not so great for colored pencils or crayons. She has a color test page that is here in the front, and I forgot to mention Sachin Sachdeva usually in the back has, some color chart sheets here too, so you can also kind of just swatch out your markers and different things like that if you would like to utilize that. But color test page here, and you can include that. One thing I don't like is that I don't like that this color test page backs up to a page that's utilized for the image, because for me, sometimes in my books, I cut them out. And so I have all my markers already matched to this color palette, but if I wanted to cut it out, I'd almost need to complete this page first before I was able to actually cut it out of the book. But if you've completed or have any of our other books, you can just cut it out of there and use it for all of her books. So this is what the image looks like. These are small shapes. And she has the color palette listed for the colors that just the colors you're going to need for the page listed on the left-hand side, which I really do like. I do like that she lists only the colors you need. That is especially helpful in eliminating color choices, because some of these can look very, very similar, like brown and dark brown, red and red orange. And so if you know that both colors are included, you know to look for distinct differences in the colors. Now, I am going to tell you this. I am a pro at I call myself a pro at Color by Colors. I've completed one of her Color by Colors books. I also have the entire collection of Color by Colors. I have colored at least one image, but typically multiple images out of each of these books. I'm very, very familiar with what the colors look like. This one's a little tricky for me. it is hard. Now, the image I colored, I did fine, but like on this image here, it is very hard for me to discern some of the colors from others. So here's what I'm going to say. I would not recommend this book for a beginner to the Color by Color series. If you have never colored in a Color by Color series from Shershneva, this would be a tough book to start with, just because it's hard to tell some of the colors apart from each other, and you need to be pretty intimately familiar with what they look like. She has this here for reference. You can always, like I said, cut this out and kind of use this to kind of guide you to kind of say, okay, is this brown or red, orange, or what is this? But this is because the spaces are so much smaller, it's a little bit harder to tell the difference. Let me show you. Okay. I'm going to show you in this side of the book here. They're actually what I believe to be, I can't tell if there are 2 colors in here or 3 colors in here. There are, and if I scoot this image over here, there looks to be a lot of black and maybe dark brown, and there's some light brown here, but man, it is hard to tell. And on some of these, if I can zoom in even further, okay, that's as far as I can zoom, and I don't even know if you guys are going to even be able to see this at all. The way that this prints is that the Tetris shapes, I think, are kind of meant to look a little 3D and stand out. So around the shape itself, so if I'm looking at this brown shape here, on the very edges of the inside of the brown shape is like a small orange line. And I see that in each of the shapes that are listed throughout here. They all have some sort of maybe like a little bit of an off color to kind of make it look like it's 3D. What that does is it tricks my eye a little bit. And it makes it hard then for me to make distinct choices for the colors. Now, you may not be that picky and say like, okay, if I use a brown instead of a dark brown, it's no big deal. It's still going to show up, you know, correctly on the image. And you're absolutely right. Like, for the most part, it's really not going to make a difference if you can't tell the difference on the page. But if you're a perfectionist and you want this to be perfect, know and understand this is probably going to take a little bit more time and planning to figure out like, okay, what colors really go where, instead of just, you know, coloring them, you know, straight and kind of jumping in. So what you can see, and these are a little bit more of a mystery. Now, when you're looking at them from the camera, you can see them very clearly. Me being up close to these, they're not as obvious, but for the most part, I can tell what the image is. But if you like something that's a little more mystery, and if you like to be challenged, if you maybe like and want to be challenged by, you know, some of the images and like some of the smaller shapes, you might really, really enjoy this book. I did enjoy coloring this book, but like I said, I feel like this is a little more advanced. Like, I need to take a little more time to dedicate to color in this book. Also, the color palettes don't change orientation while the page changes orientation. And so you'll see on the page that I colored, I originally thought it was portrait. And I just was like, I cannot for the life of me figure out what this page is. I wanted to pick something that was a little bit of a mystery to me. And then now I can clearly see after I have colored it that it is dolphins jumping in and out of the ocean. So I completed this page. I just used my Cali Art alcohol markers for this. I think it turned out well. Now, I will tell you, I did not pick the best shade of aqua green. I was going somewhat quickly. I wasn't really paying attention. I wasn't really trying to match my markers really well. And I was just like, oh, okay, this green looks fine. Well, it was like a muddy looking green. It was kind of a brownish green color. It looked horrible. So I went back over it with blue to try to make it look a little more like water. And it still doesn't look great, but it's a lot better than what it was. So that is not Kira's fault. That is completely my fault in not choosing the right color for the aqua green in the photo. But you can see, obviously, these are 3 dolphins that are kind of jumping in a little cove area. So I like the effect. I really do like the outcome of the pictures. But yeah, it's definitely a lot more detailed, and it's really cool to kind of look through the viewfinder and see what these images are, because like I said, some of these, like I can tell that these are buildings on kind of like a street or something obvious in the viewfinder, but not as obvious in person. Like this looks like a surfer. Yeah. You can see so much more detail through the lens of the camera, which I think is really cool. What is that one? Pumpkins? Oh, I can't tell. Maybe a basket of something. Is that a mushroom? It looks like a windmill. I do love the paper she uses. I love the colored backgrounds. This is a cute little bunny. I've seen somebody color this. It looked really good. This, I think, is the image on the back of the book, the sailboat. A rose. Maybe a house or a, I don't know. What is that one? I really can't tell what that one is. Oh, that looks like maybe a horizon. That's really pretty. So yeah, and then she just got kind of an extra test page in the back. So that is the end of her book. So really great book. Like I said, these are going to be for the colorist that maybe has a little more time on their hands and wants to spend their time in creating something that really is you know, special and unique and fun. And these books are still a ton of fun. I had a ton of fun coloring in both of them. Like I said, I have the information in the description box below if you would like to pick up a copy. Again, I thank Kira and Sachin for sending these to me. These were really just a nice, fun addition to my collection. I love the theme and topic of vacations. This color by colors, I love the different variety of images in here and how it's something a little more mystery, something a little bit more hidden in the images than kind of what we're used to in the other color by colors. So with that being said, I hope you all have a beautiful rest of the week, and I will see you again next time. Bye.